This is Combat Mania on the Undetermined Podcast Network.
You are listening to Combat Mania, a Cheap Seat Sports production, part of the Undetermined Podcast Network. It is episode number 3. I'm Tom Albano, and boy, oh boy, what a weekend of combat sports we had. We had wrestling, we had boxing, we had MMA, we had pretty much everything that we could have had this weekend. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world, and obviously, not all of it is great, but combat sports-wise, things have been pretty cool. Things have been pretty good. Some interesting stuff has happened, both good and bad and controversial and anything else. So, you know what? Let's just get right into it. And funny enough, we started episode 1 with MMA. We started episode 2 with boxing. Today, wrestling is the one that gets to open things up. So let's get into the world of wrestling, particularly the world of the WWE. WWE No Mercy took place on Sunday night, and as the words are coming out of my mouth, Raw is scheduled to get underway in a couple of hours. But let's just go through what happened at No Mercy. So, interesting night. Overall, I thought it was very good. Some of it was why, and some of it was, bad that I couldn't explain. Here's the best way I can put it, because I know No Mercy was very polarizing. It was polarizing as the two stars who were competing in one of the marquee matches. Yes, I know, haha. But there were people there who thought No Mercy was pretty good. Very good. And I know people who thought No Mercy was just absolute shit. I'm not in the middle with No Mercy. What I am is more towards the people who thought it was very good. But I understand that there were some things that probably brought it down. There were some things that brought No Mercy down for me. Some that didn't have as much of an effect on me as, others. Others were very affected and thought the show was brought down tremendously, particularly by the last 3 matches on the card. And that's kind of my feeling of, it was a very good show, but some of what happened in, the last hour or so kind of brought it down from what No Mercy could have been, in terms of, was it a good show? Was it a great show? Was it a bad show? Something along those lines. So, that being said, let's just get right into what happened at No Mercy on Sunday. So, we kicked things off on the pre-show, or the kickoff show. It was Apollo Crews, accompanied by Titus of Titus Worldwide, facing off with Elias. And there's no real backstory here with this one. This is just, let's throw together 2 people who have nothing to do, and let's have them have a match. There were no Hardys on this show. There was no Gallows and Anderson on this show. Instead, we got Elias and Apollo Crews. Apollo Crews appeared last week on Raw, and that was the first time I saw him in, weeks on end. Because he kind of disappeared for me after, the Tozawa Cruiserweight title win. And we'll get into tonight's Cruiserweight Championship match. Or rather, No Mercy's Cruiserweight Championship match a little bit. But yeah, Apollo Crews hadn't appeared on TV for a while, and Elias was, being Elias. So it felt weird seeing these 2 in the ring together and having a match, although not surprising considering it's the kickoff show. But Elias did get the win. Elias got the win, and, it was a match. What can I really say? Wasn't the worst match in the world. It wasn't, anything great. As I said, it was a kickoff match. You can't really trust the kickoff match. It's usually like, why is this a thing? Unless it's something like New Day and Usos. So, also, by the way, I was live tweeting during No Mercy. I should have mentioned that at the beginning. Every pay-per-view, every WWE pay-per-view, I will live tweet at Combat Mania UD on Twitter. So, go follow that. Because, and before and after the show, I'll also do Periscope talking about the show. So, I'm actually trying to bring up everything that, I said. So, one of the things Elias said, I think was a great quote. He was talking about how he was in Los Angeles, the city of angels, because No Mercy took place from the Staples Center. He says, as far as I'm concerned, I'm in hell. And I said Mike Trout should agree with him, considering that Mike Trout has all that potential. And baseball, he's a stud, he's a phenomenal player, and he's on a losing team, a horrible team like the Angels. But if you really want my opinions on baseball and everything else that's not combat sport related but still sports related, well, go check out the Unspoken Podcast with me and Nick Federa. G-plug. Anyways, let's move on now. So, Elias's move is apparently called the Drift Away. So, I feel like they should play, what's his name? Who does that song? Give me the big boys and free my soul. Oh, Uncle Cracker, that's who it is. Drift Away. Just play it every time he hits that move. The commentary tonight, was it me? Was the commentary, like, I know Michael Cole, Corey Graves, and Booker T aren't, a superstar of a team. They're a fine team. They're a better team that, they're a better team and better, more, what's the word? Like, when Jerry Lawler, Michael Cole, and JBL were together, it was like the most random of things. They were barely paying attention to the match. They pay attention to the match now a little more, but not everybody's perfect. And No Mercy, they were far from perfect. Cole was botching things left and right. He had a couple of really bad botches, like saying during Finn Balor versus Bray Wyatt that Bray was the one who won the Universal Championship last year. Some of it's honest mistakes, but still. You kind of want to expect your commentators to not have an off day on the pay-per-view, especially one they were promoting like No Mercy with the two marquee WrestleMania-like matches. Booker T, I just barely understood a thing he was saying on commentary tonight on No Mercy. It was just like, what happened? Also, during the kickoff, they had Kurt Angle on the panel discussing, I think it was Cena Reigns, and Miz came over because Miz is facing Jason Jordan, Kurt Angle's storyline illegitimate son. And Miz was accusing Kurt Angle of not being there for him. I think it was a similar promo to what he did like last week or 2 weeks ago. But Miz was saying like, you weren't there for his T-ball games. He said something very weird. He said, you weren't there for Jason Jordan's first hookup. Why the fuck would you want a parent at your first hookup? A parent being there at your first hookup, that's awkward as fuck, man. So I don't know what the hell Miz was talking about there. That was just like, why? What was like? Was it supposed to be something else, and that was all he could think of, or was it like that was the most random thing I could have ever heard on the pre-show? That was just why? Why did he have to say hookup? Not even a matter of saying hookup. It's like, why the fuck would you want a parent there? So that was just, I don't know, man. And then first match of No Mercy was Jason Jordan versus Miz, Intercontinental Championship on the line. I'm just going to take a quote from something I retweeted on the Combat Mania account. It's from the Pro Wrestling Insider Twitter. And pretty much it's a shame that the Angle's son gimmick has floundered so far. Jordan has tremendous upside. And I think Jim Ross said something like how, Jason Jordan is a tremendous wrestler. But I guess the storyline has done nothing for him because Miz was getting cheered so much. Miz and Miz Taraj were getting cheered so much, and they were supposed to be playing the heels. Jordan was supposed to be playing this big underdog babyface, and he was getting booed out of the building. I guess it didn't help that they were also in Los Angeles. Miz, of course, is biled from Hollywood, so, you also have to take the hometown crowd kind of thing into mind. I know, Miz is originally from Cleveland, but, you gotta think about the hometown factor, which I guess Vince and WWE wanted you to forget about that because, of course, in WWE's rules, barely anybody can win in their hometown. Bayley lost in her hometown. Hasn't Randy Orton lost in his hometown quite a number of times? John Cena has lost in Boston before. Sasha Banks lost in... Oh, Sasha Banks Charlotte feud last year. That's what I was trying to think of. Something happened last year was of the hometown thing. I remember last year at Hell in a Cell, Sasha and Charlotte had the Hell in a Cell match. Sasha lost in the Hell in a Cell in her hometown of Boston and won the title back a couple weeks later when they were in Charlotte's hometown. So, hometown rules. Can't really win there. But yeah, basically the LA crowd was just really hammering down on Jason Jordan. It was barely even funny. It was really they were unforgiving. Jason Jordan, the only notes I had on that was Jason Jordan's woo had nothing on flared stings, but that's quite obvious. And Jordan was doing a shit ton of suplexes, which I get it. He has the wrestling background, the amateur wrestling, kind of gimmick, but still, the hell does he think he is? Scott Steiner? But No Mercy, but Jason Jordan at No Mercy, it just was not good for him. It was really, really bad for him. The match ended with Bo Dallas providing a distraction while Curtis Axel, I forget what Axel did to Jason Jordan, but he pretty much, something against the ropes. It was outside interference. Miz comes from behind, skull-crushing finale, gets the 3 count. Miz retains the Intercontinental Championship. And then they do this post-match promo with Jordan. It was just, there was really nothing on that promo. It was one of those typical, oh, I'll get you, Miz. Miz, you're a jerk. Miz, he didn't call Miz anything particularly strong. He just you're a coward, Miz. And that was pretty much it. It was not the best promo. And it's kind of sad because it's I would expect something, you want somebody with the push that they're giving Jason Jordan, you want them to have, good mic skills or something to appeal to the crowd. The amateur wrestling thing, I think, can only go so far, perhaps, because, when he was with American Alpha, he was Jason Jordan and Chad Gable, that team was something. He had 2 amateur wrestling background stars teaming up, and they provided quite the showing. But, yeah, I think I said this on the Periscope. If you were to put a gun to my head and make me choose somebody to cheer tremendously for, either between Jason Jordan or Chad Gable and Shelton Benjamin, I would have to say Gable and Benjamin. The Jason Jordan thing, it's the Shawn Michaels, Marty Jannetty thing. One is supposed to flounder, and one's supposed to break into this huge single star. Jason Jordan, it seems isn't going to be the one to do that single star. It's Chad Gable's already back in a tag team, and Gable seems to be a little bit of a bigger star than Jason Jordan. Not much, because Gable and Benjamin are, just starting their teaming ways, but Gable and Benjamin, I think, it's number one, it's a nostalgia thing because Shelton Benjamin, it's amazing to see him back. But number two, it's just more entertaining. Just more of an entertainment thing to watch Gable and Benjamin on SmackDown Live's tag team division. So yeah, Jason Jordan, I mean, I feel bad for the guy because he was getting destroyed. I don't think should have gotten destroyed as much as he should have, but still, kind of, could have done a lot better. Then we had Finn Balor versus Bray Wyatt. Interesting crowd, sign in the crowd during No Mercy. It was shown during the Balor versus Wyatt match. Here on our honeymoon. And it's like, I don't know if I can consider that the best honeymoon ever because you're at the WWE pay-per-view. As I said on the Periscope, you gotta go. If you really want to experience a WWE pay-per-view, you gotta be there live. Because obviously, there's few bathroom breaks. You're gonna need, there's a whole period of waiting between matches and stuff, and you don't really get a true bathroom break. You use, the time between matches or during the pre-match packages, but still, being there live is 100 times better because you're actually a part of something. But still, as I was saying, Balor versus Wyatt. Finn Balor coming out in a new all-gray attire. Looks really interesting. I don't know if I can consider it a very, very good thing, very, very bad, or kind of bland. Just something to take note of. Wyatt's attacking Balor before the match begins. Balor needs help to the back, but Wyatt gets on the mic, and it's like, oh, Finn, you're a coward, yada yada. And Finn turns around and decides he wants to fight, even though he's hurt from the pre-match attack, and match underway. And, I mean, it was fine. It was nothing great. It wasn't the greatest match of all time. It wasn't the worst match of all time. It was far from that. So, it was, typical. It was a B. It was fine. Fine. It was passable. It was good. It wasn't great. It was just good. I liked the mention of how Finn, I think he had Bray Wyatt trapped between the ring skirt and the apron. I was attacking him, and it's like, oh, that's what Fit Finlay used to do. Like, making reference to the Irish, the Finn Balor's fellow Irish superstar. Good old Fit Finlay reference. His name is Finn, and he loves to fight. Can't do an Irish accent for shit. So, but Finn Balor ends up getting the win over Bray Wyatt. So, Wyatt goes 0 for 2 against Balor on pay-per-view. I mean, okay. Does that kind of hurt Bray Wyatt? I could see it hurting Bray Wyatt's momentum. But at the same time, it got me thinking, why would Finn win? And I realized something. We'll get to that, however, towards the end of No Mercy. But let's just continue on with the No Mercy talk. So, up next, we have... Oh, yeah, that was another thing. So then one of the other things I tweeted was... Oh, yeah, next up was the Tag Team Championship match. I'm like, did this happen in this match? And I realized, yeah, it did. It was Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins defending the tag team titles against Sheamus and Cesaro. Cole had another bad botch saying, oh, Sheamus won the WWE title from Cena at TLC in 2010. I think they were trying to promote the TLC pay-per-view. That's the next Raw pay-per-view next month. And I'm like, it was 2009. I'm like, God, Cole is off tonight. Then again, I think the whole commentary team was kind of off tonight. Sheamus and Cesaro early on being, fairly aggressive. And John Cone had to, the referee had to, get aggressive back. I'm like, that's the most aggressive I've seen John Cone ever. And then there was one spot in the match, I think Cesaro collided with, I want to say it was one of the turnbuckles. Not a turnbuckle, but the turnbuckle post. And he lost his front teeth and maybe one or two of the teeth on the side of the front teeth. So there was a real gaping hole in a Cesaro's mouth. I know he lost his 2 front teeth for sure, though. So I can hear Cesaro singing at Christmas time, "All I want for Christmas is my 2 front teeth." But then Corey Graves had to one-up me and say that Cesaro looked like Nosferatu. I just thought to myself, like, Corey Graves is just a man. I think he was the only one on that commentary team that was having a decent night or a good night, and that was Graves. Because of course it was. Corey's probably the best commentator on that table. But Sheamus and Cesaro actually lose the match. They were in control for most of the match. They even did the numbers game where they took out Rollins, and Rollins was on the outside, and they were, constantly tagging in and out, beating up Dean Ambrose, but it got to a point where Sheamus did, I think it was the bro kick, ended up accidentally hitting Cesaro, which allowed Rollins to hit the knee, and then Ambrose hit the Dirty Deeds for the win. It was another fine pay-per-view match, another great one from these 2 tag teams. They had one of the best matches of SummerSlam last month, and I could tell because I was in the crowd for SummerSlam. And SummerSlam, the Universal Title 4-Way, and the 2 tag title matches were the best matches on that card. And, it's another great showing, another great outing from those 2 teams. And I think that might have actually been my match tonight. I'll have to look into a couple more of these matches. But after I finish discussing, I might actually have to give, after I finish discussing this, I might have to give the Raw Tag Team title match the match of the night. But then we move on now to a 5-way for the Women's Championship. Alexa Bliss defending against Emma, defending against Nia Jax, defending against Sasha Banks, and defending against Bayley. Fatal 5-way. Not an elimination match, it's a 1-fall fatal 5-way. And I have to applaud Nia Jax for a great, great performance at No Mercy. She was dominant. All the women were pretty much targeting her. She did this one spot, I think it was with Emma and Sasha on her shoulders, where she did a double Samoan drop. I'm like, oh god, a double shell-shocked. Here comes Ryback. He's going to start, cheating away, or he's going to say something on his podcast. I wouldn't be surprised if on the next Ryback podcast we hear something like, either like Nia was taking a shot at me, or some crazy idea, like, oh, I was supposed to work with Nia. Something along those lines probably going to be said. But Nia's night pretty much ended when they did, it was this weird, Tower of Doom kind of spot where it's like 2 of the girls were holding Nia, on the outside, trying to, powerbomb her from the ring apron onto the floor. And then 2 of the other women came over. One of them did, some, I think it was a shove of sorts, and then the other one, the other one was Bliss, did the kick to the abdomen. And Nia pretty much was powerbombed, Tower of Doom style, to the outside. And it's like, well, thank you for coming, Nia, but man, I gotta give it up to Nia Jax. Nia Jax had a tremendous performance at No Mercy. But the match ended with Alexa Bliss retaining the Women's Championship after a snap DDT on Bayley. I think Emma and Bayley were in the ring, and then Alexa did something between the 2 to cause, Emma to roll out of the ring and then hit Bayley with the snap DDT. There was this one fan who was dressed in all Bayley gear, depressed as all hell, and I thought it was absolutely funny. It's like someone needs to, screenshot it. But basically, some people are complaining that maybe Bayley's momentum is hurt. I don't think they're jobbing out Bayley. They're not. Bayley, has been off TV for the last 2 months. This is her first match, truly her first match back. And, maybe they can start pushing her as an underdog again, but maybe do it in a different way. Now that the character was off TV, it's no longer stale. Maybe they can do something with it again. They'll have the Sasha factor still there, Sasha and Bayley, they're both good friends, but only one of them can be the champion. So they can do something along those lines. I don't doubt. I don't doubt. That they can hurt Bayley. Like it's not going to be that bad. Everyone needs to relax. They're not hurting Bayley that much. So now we move on to John Cena versus Roman Reigns, one of the big marquee matchups. And there was a "if Cena loses, we riot" sign. And I'm like, the irony of this from ECW One Night Stand 06, from Money in the Bank 11, and they have the upcoming 2K18 game where it was like the Cena Enough edition. Like, just think about that. It was originally "if Cena wins, we riot." Now it's if Cena loses, we riot. But I thought some people were like, this match turned them off and they didn't like it. Others thought it was a great match. Here's how I'm going to put it. Here's how I put it on the Periscope. First half of the match, shit. Second half of the match, awesome. So did it really live up to the expectations to what I think it could have, based with, all the pre-match hype that was going on, all the talking? Probably not. I probably didn't live up to my expectations, but was it still a great match? Because, you as much as the bar can be set, you can still make a good match or a great match and still not meet the expectations, but you can't please everybody. It's still a great match. Did I think it was as great as it could have been? No, because there was a little bit of a slow start, but I still thought it was tremendous. I still give Cena and Reigns a lot of credit for, where credit's due. And this match did have some crazy spots during it. Cena did get one AA on Reigns with a Reigns kick out. Reigns did the Superman punch on Cena. Cena kicks out. Cena did the Super AA from the top, and Reigns kicked out. They did a spot near the announce tables where Cena was trying to do the AA to Reigns through the announce table. Reigns got off and speared Cena through an announce table. Rolled it back into the ring, and Cena kicked out. They had Cena do the, do one AA and then roll into another AA immediately. I think that was a spot they did at the Royal Rumble with him and AJ Styles. Reigns kicked out of that. So it was that kind of nuts. It was just the Superman punch and spear to defeat Cena at the end was just kind of out of nowhere. It wasn't, like one of those exciting, like, pop out of nowhere. It's just like, oh, wait, that's it? Like, I feel like there could have been a little more to it. Was it, like I said, was it still a great match? Absolutely. I still thought it was a thumbs up worthy match, and I guess we have a little bit of a passing of a guard here. Reigns' hand being held up by Cena. They would later go on Raw Talk, and they would be asking Cena, is this the end of, John Cena? He said, it's not him retiring, there's just going to be a lot of change going on, and I guess Cena's status, as a part-timer has been solidified. But I guess they are really working a retirement angle because Cena posted, a picture on Instagram, around midnight, so an hour or so after No Mercy had ended, and it was the day that music died, and Nikki Bella, commenting on the Instagram post tears and a hashtag thank you Cena. I also threw in a hashtag thank you Cena just because, it's a phenomenal match, and Cena's been around, 15 years, so I gotta give credit where credit's due. I wasn't Cena's biggest fan, and I was really mad during the Super Cena era, but you know what? Cena has done a hell of a lot for sport, and I mean, he is, one of the best entertainers, and he does a lot of great things with the Make-A-Wish. You know what? So thank you, Cena. He deserves to thank you, Cena. And then suddenly Corey Graves is near the top of the stage, and he's with Vic Joseph, because then it's time for the Cruiserweight Championship match. And here's where I think things begin to dip a little. So Enzo comes out. Neville and Enzo come out. Enzo is wearing this weird Beetlejuice-looking costume. But he's talking on the mic, and, it's all good. It's typical Enzo. I like Enzo. I like his charisma, personality, his mic skills. one of the lines of the night, Enzo calling Neville a Keebler elf-looking schmuck. I thought that was tremendous. I thought that was great. But my problem was with the finish. So, this is weird. It's like, if any of you remember me tweeting during 205 Live a couple of weeks ago, it was during the Contenders match where Enzo was basically taken out of the match, like, early on by all the rest of the cruiserweights. And then, what's his name? Cedric Alexander basically eliminated everybody, but then Enzo Amore rolled up, came out of nowhere, rolled up Cedric with the tights, got the 3 count. I'm like, well, this kind of suckish. Because they were doing this thing where it's like, Enzo's like, I don't train harder, I fight smarter. And basically, I don't know. As we do that kind of gimmick, rolling up with the tights. The finish here at No Mercy, which I'm going to explain, I'm like, Enzo's supposed to be the good guy. Like, I know there are things like Eddie Guerrero with the Lychean Steel, but, you know, this is weird. Because, like, if Enzo was just doing this... Oh, wait, let me explain the No Mercy finish first. So, Neville, he goes up to the top. He's pretty much destroyed Enzo during the match. Neville goes up to the top rope. He's going to do the Red Arrow, but then he sees all the crowd is on their feet, and, you know, he plays the heel. He's like, oh, screw you, then goes to the middle rope to do the Red Arrow, which I thought was great heel work by Neville. But Neville misses the Red Arrow. And then this chase scene ensues. It's like Enzo rolls to the outside. Neville wants to get out there, but the referee's like, no, I'm not going to let you get out there. But Enzo grabs the Cruiserweight Championship. He grabs the title. And Neville finds a way out towards the ring, and they do a chase scene, and they both end up in the back of the ring, and the referee catches Enzo. He's like, hey, give me that back. Give me that back, or I'm going to disqualify you. So Enzo gives it back, and as the referee turns his back to hand the championship back to the timekeeper, Enzo kicks Neville in the groin, similar to how 205 Live ended last week, and rolls up Neville for the 3 count, and there you go. Enzo Amore is your new Cruiserweight Champion. So I'm like, here's the thing. If he was doing this to just Neville, fine. Maybe it's on the line. Then it would be on the lines a la Eddie Guerrero with his Lychean Steel kind of thing. But he's doing this to the whole Cruiserweight division. They just had the whole Cruiserweight division on Twitter basically, like, disappointed in Enzo winning the title. It's like, I don't get it. Is Enzo supposed to be the good guy here? Is he supposed to be a bad guy? Is he supposed to be a tweener? Like, I know some of this might have to be influenced by, you know, how supposedly Enzo Amore isn't exactly well-liked in the locker room. But, I mean, it's so weird. Like, I don't know who's a good guy and bad guy anymore. I thought Neville was playing a tremendous heel. It's like, I'm so confused. I think this was probably one of the worst decisions that they could have made. Like, if Enzo won fine, or if Enzo rolled up Neville after, you know, Neville missed the Red Arrow because he got cocky or turned his back on the fans, it's like, you know, okay, that's fine. Something could have been built there, but it's like, I don't know what they're doing. I don't know if they're trying to anticipate a Enzo heel turn. Are they trying to turn the whole Cruiserweight division heel? Are they just burying the Cruiserweight division? I know some people would say the Cruiserweight division's been buried enough, but it's like, come on. I actually enjoyed the Cruiserweights. That 5-way match that Enzo won despite not being involved in the match at all, I liked that match. I liked what they were doing until Enzo won. It's like, if you're gonna have Enzo compete, let him fucking compete in this division. Otherwise, just, you know, what the hell? I don't think that made any sense. And then, of course, we've got to the main event. Brock Lesnar versus Braun Strowman for the Universal title. It ends up going 9 fucking minutes. Just 9 minutes. Braun dominates the first half of the match. Brock struggling to get, Braun up for the F5. Brock attempts a suplex, and once again, Braun no-sells it. Braun does a choke slam. But Brock manages to kick out. But then towards the end, of course, Brock has to finally nail Suplex City on Braun. Finally, after 2 struggling attempts, picks him up in 1 F5, and that's it. So, that was it. I was just like, that sucked. Because Brock and Braun, you know, they along with Reigns and Joe, destroyed the SummerSlam surroundings. They pretty much were one of the main attractions of SummerSlam. They had a hell of a 4-way match at SummerSlam. And then we go from that to this 9-minute match where I'm not even sure if they even left the ring. But they didn't destroy anything. They didn't do any announce table spots. They didn't do any barricade spots. I know some of the announce tables were destroyed from Cena and Reigns, but, you know, still, they could have done like a barricade spot and I'm not finished with you kind of style thing, but, I mean, come on. These two are more capable than a 9-minute main event match. That was just bad. And I'm sad because I know Braun is capable of more than that, and it's like, is his momentum going to be shot down now? What's next from here? Although, as I said, like Brock, now that he's done with No Mercy, maybe Brock doesn't fight again until either Survivor Series or the Royal Rumble. So we'll maybe not see him on TV for a little while. But that made me think, okay, who could be the next contender? Because Rollins and Ambrose are busy with the tag titles. Joe was injured, but like, is he going to come back in recent weeks? I don't know. Does him or Braun turn babyface and they feud or something like that? I don't know. But Joe wouldn't get another title shot because Joe already has had 2 title shots. Reigns isn't going to get another title shot, I think. I mean, it's always a possibility, but I don't know. Maybe Reigns instead does a feud with Joe, which I think is more likely. I mean, that's a bit of a head scratcher there. But if you want my honest opinion about why, because I guess it goes back now to Finn Balor and Bray Wyatt. It's like Finn had the gray look, and Finn defeated Bray Wyatt on pay-per-view twice. One says the Demon and one says the Man. I know Mercy is the Man. I'm like, oh, why does he go 2-0? And then made me think, oh, the promo that Heyman did before Extreme Rules, the contenders match at Extreme Rules, plus Finn going 2-0 against Bray Wyatt on pay-per-view, it started clicking in my head. Oh, Finn might be the next to face Brock. So that might be interesting. I think that's probably what they're going to go with, and that would be interesting to see. I don't know how the hell they would book that. I hope they wouldn't book it too badly, because I don't want Finn being destroyed, especially if it was the Demon, and especially after this 9-minute debacle, which I think could have gone on a lot longer and could have been a much better main event. But still, No Mercy, fair show, decent show. I thought it was a good show. Maybe brought down a little bit by the last 2 matches, or 2.5, if you're counting some of the Cena versus Reigns. But interesting things could have come out of No Mercy, so we'll have to wait and see. But that was No Mercy, so let's get now into the world of MMA. So Bellator 183 took place on Saturday night. And, I mean, what do you expect from a Bellator card? Because it's like, it can be good. Some of their heavily promoted shit usually, ends up being shit. So it's like, I didn't know what to expect with this Bellator card, but I thought it was good on the undercard portion of things. Main card portion of things were okay too. Main event, however, is another story. So let's just get into Bellator. And they must have been all over California this weekend with combat sports, because Bellator 183 took place at the SAP Center in San Jose. So let's just get right into the main card. Main card opened up with a lightweight contest between Goiti Yamauchi and Adam Piccolotti. It was a fair match. It was a quick one. It only lasted about 3 minutes, and Yamauchi got a rear naked choke on Piccolotti to get the win, and I believe he's unbeaten at lightweight. Is he unbeaten at lightweight, or is he just unbeaten at Bellator? He's unbeaten at lightweight. Okay, so I got my notes right there. Goiti Yamauchi now improves to 22-3. I'm not exactly sure when he fought at lightweight. I know he fought at featherweight for a while, but he returned to lightweight at Bellator 162 when he faced Ryan Couture last year, and ever since then, that's now 3 straight wins where he is, at that lightweight level. So, somebody to keep an eye on. I mean, he is 22-3. He did compete in was it a featherweight tournament? Yeah, he competed in a featherweight tournament before Bellator went to the yearly events format instead of the season format. I think February 14, when he competed in the featherweight tournament, was one of the last times that Bellator did do the seasonal tournament formats that they were previously known for. But then after that, we had Aaron Pico. He's the prodigy. He was, supposed to be the next big thing in MMA, and he takes on Justin Lin. Pico actually made his debut back at the Bellator NYC pay-per-view. He fought, I think it was at lightweight. Yeah, it was at lightweight, so another lightweight featherweight man, speaking of those two divisions. He faced Zach Freeman, who was pretty much a journeyman fighter, who had like 10 or 11 fights under his belt. And in 24 seconds, he caught Pico in a guillotine choke and made Pico tap out. So, you're supposed to be the prodigy, you're supposed to be this big, star, and in 24 seconds, he's made to tap out. But there's always a second chance, and Pico got that second chance on Saturday night as he took on Justin Lin. He dropped down to featherweight from lightweight. He explained that he usually fought, when he was wrestling and stuff, he usually competed at featherweight, and basically he felt better. His body felt better. And like I've said this before, I think a couple weeks ago on the podcast, you should fight at a level when it comes to weight that you feel comfortable at. Like, if you don't feel like you want to do a big weight cut, don't do it. Because weight cutting, it is dangerous. It can be deadly. You should not be attempting a weight cut without, proper supervision. But pretty much, Pico actually got his second chance, and he actually made the most of it. It was another short 3-4 minute bout, but Pico, he had a highlight reel of a knockout. I think it might have been the knockout of the night, for sure. Looking at the footage actually right now, so they're squaring off towards the center of the ring. Justin Lin attempted a high left kick, I think it was. Yeah, high left kick, he misses. Pico goes on the attack, and they exchanged, but it was one left hook right on the freaking button, and Lin just folded up. He collapsed completely. He was out cold. Aaron Pico, second chance, salvation. He got it. An amazing win at Bellator. And it was a perfect Mauro Ranallo Mamma Mia moment. And I'm proud to say that when I expressed something about the Aaron Pico knockout on both my personal Twitter account and the Combat Mania Twitter account, we got the approval of a retweet, the honor of a retweet, from the legendary Mauro Ranallo. You know how people have like a spirit animal? Well, I have a spirit commentator, a spirit play-by-play man, and my spirit commentator, my spirit broadcaster is Mauro freaking Ranallo. The bipolar rock and roller. God bless that Canadian. He is amazing. But moving on to the Bellator card, up next was the debut of Roy Big Country Nelson, the UFC veteran, jumping ship to Bellator. Nelson, however, struggling, losing 7 of his last 10 bouts entering this fight, as he took on it was Javi Ayala, and I thought it was a fairly good match. Was there any stuff, noticeable? No. Was it anything, hard hitting? I mean, kind of was. You had big exchanges, the hard hits. The heavyweights hit are some of the hardest hitters possible. But you also saw a bunch of exchanges of, them trying to take each other to the ground and do some ground and pound to finish things off. At least that's what I saw. It was like some notable exchanges in the clinch, on the feet, towards the ground. And I agree with the judges. I thought Nelson was, maybe not overly dominant, but he definitely was, the fighter who did the most damage. So this one where the scorecards were weird? Yeah, the scorecards were weird. One judge saw 30-26, while two of them saw 29-28. Because I did think Ayala did, some damage. I think he might have taken a round. But where the 30-26 comes from, that means a 10-8 has got to be somewhere. And I don't know if any one of those rounds was worthy of a 10-8. And, it goes back to like what I said last week when it was talking about the Canelo Triple G thing. I hate, and I referenced MMA, well, here you go. Like, I made the reference that the 10-9 scoring system and how it was stupid, and how Judge Adelaide Bird was stupid not wanting to score a 10-10 sometimes. I don't necessarily like doing 10-10, but it's like, if it warranted, it warranted. But more importantly, I just hate this overall system, the 10-9 must scoring system. It's like under the new unified rules, they want more 10-8 rounds. It's like, I'm so confused here. Like, I mean, come on. Like I said last week, I'm more a fan of the Pride system, which is like, none of this, 10-9 bullshit. The fight happens, you watch it happen, you look at you look at all the damage each fighter receives, you look at what they do on the feet, what they do on the ground, they're striking, they're grappling, you take it all into consideration at the end, and without even a number or anything, you just go, okay, it looked like this guy won the fight, it looked like this guy won the fight. It's like, why can't we have that? It's kind of simple. It's actually a lot more simple than this 10-9 stuff, so why can't we have that? Sometimes I long for wanting, Pride back. I haven't actually seen too much of Ryzen, so I really want to check out a Ryzen event to see, because it has the old, Pride mindset. The gimmick was, to try to bring Japanese MMA back. Like, you hadn't seen much since, Pride's dissolution, but it's like Ryzen's trying to, essentially rise from the ashes that was Pride and bring it back into coolness, back to the mainstream. It's like, I hope it does. I want to actually, like I said, I want to see a Ryzen event. I have to see one to see what I think of it. Now we move on to the Bellator co-main event of the evening, and it was Paul Daly, Lorenz Larkin, welterweight fight, and you expected, some bad blood here because they actually got into it at the weigh-in, and it wasn't as, vicious as I thought it would be, but Paul Daly landed a spectacular knockout himself. Like, I don't think it was as good as Aaron Pico's, but I definitely thought Paul Daly definitely showed, it was definitely a great knockout there. Paul Daly landed a left hand. It was a left hook to the temple. It was a left hook to the temple of Larkin. Then he threw a right, and there was another left hook to the temple, and Larkin went down, and it wasn't long before the referee stepped in and stopped the fight. So, big ups to Paul Daly, and of course, after about, if you follow Bellator, Daly has been exchanging words on social media with Michael Venom Page, so he called Michael Page out. So, I want to see Daly versus Page. I want to see what would happen when those two meet. I'd want to see, what each will bring to the table. And then, of course, we had the main event of the evening, Smooth Benson Henderson versus Patricky Pitbull. Henderson's only Bellator win thus far. He was fighting Patricky Pitbull's brother, Patricio Pitbull, and Patricio Pitbull injured his leg during the fight, so Benson actually won via injury. So Patricky Pitbull kind of out for revenge, and I'm sorry, that the Henderson versus Pitbull was boring. As I said before, this is the struggle that Bellator happens. They try to put these great fights together. They try to promote this main event to heck, And every big name main event match that they push usually ends up going to shit. And this was just fucking awful. I have no words. I can't just salvage that match. This was... It wasn't good. It really wasn't good. To pretty much recap the fight, I'm trying to bring up the recap that I had. Pretty much, both men were like doing a lot of feinting attacks in the first round. Wasn't much going on. Barely anybody threw anything, basically. Henderson tried a takedown in the second, and it was just Henderson was obsessed with trying to get the takedown. That's what it was. This whole fight was basically Henderson being obsessed with trying to do the takedown. He managed to get Pitbull against the cage a couple of times, but it was so freaking long how much time Henderson had Pitbull against the cage, and Pitbull was defending the takedown, fighting, not going down, and I don't know. I'm surprised John McCarthy didn't really do... Like, he warned Pitbull to let go of the cage multiple times, but he never reset them. I'm like, there was something I feel like McCarthy could have done, and he should have stepped in there and separated the two. Pitbull, and then all for nothing, because that second round where it was the longest time, Pitbull ends up taking Henderson down. Henderson quickly got up, and then the round ended. It's like, of all the fucking things that can happen, you spend most of that round trying to get freaking Patricky Pitbull down, and you fucking failed at that. You really couldn't do... I don't know, man. I don't know. That was terrible. And then the third, Henderson swung wildly, missed a whole bunch of times. Pitbull got his combinations in. Pitbull was aggressive. He was chasing Henderson down. But there was a split decision. It was like 29-28 Henderson, 29-28 Pitbull, 29-28 Pitbull. I don't get where the split decision comes in here. It's like, I guess it was that first round that caused the 29-28 scores, which I could see. I could see Henderson winning that first round while Pitbull won the second and third. But still, my God, that was horrible. A horrible Bellator main event. Like, I don't know what Bellator is thinking sometimes. It just baffles me completely. But that was pretty much Bellator 183. Bellator 184 is actually right around the corner. It's going to take place on October 6th. And in the main event of that, Eduardo Dantas will defend the Bellator Bantamweight Championship against Darren Caldwell. Also competing on this card will feature Daniel Strauss and Pat Caron. So that'll be interesting to see what happens there. Maybe this will be better than this card. This card was actually pretty okay. It was a fine Bellator show, and, Paul Daly and Aaron Pico with hell of a knockouts. I think they were my two favorite performances of the night. And that includes the prelim bouts as well. But you know what? Fine show, but the main event was just... the main event was a chore to sit through. So, now that that's out of the way, let's just quickly talk about the two big boxing matches that took place on Saturday as well. Jorge Linares has successfully retained the WBA Lightweight Championship. He defended the championship on Saturday night, taking on Luke Campbell. I think that was on HBO. And it was also in California, this time from the Forum in Inglewood. Linares was happy with the fight. Campbell definitely put in the hard work and definitely nearly made the comeback. So it was definitely a great fight. Definitely worth more eye time than the main event of Bellator. It was on around the same time. Linares and Campbell, they were both very cautious at first. It was, the typical feeling out process. Like, whether you're a fan of boxing for a year or a lifetime, basically, this is normal. You can already tell this is normal, that they were just cautious. They were just feeling each other out. Landing in some shots, but just trying to see what the other guy had. But the tipping point of everything seemed to come in round 2, very early on. in the fight. With about 50 seconds left in round 2, Linares caught Campbell. It was a straight right, and Campbell went down. Campbell managed to get up, but of course that turned a 10-9 round for Linares into a 10-8 round. Linares continued being more aggressive in round 3. Round 4, Campbell seemed to be more comfortable, but Linares again. Round 5 is when things started to change. Linares was having trouble catching up to Campbell. Campbell was basically trying to cut off the ring, cut off the champion's ability to use his hands. Then 6th and 7th were both like rounds that could have gone either way. Eighth round comes, however, and Linares, pretty much everything that Linares was throwing in the previous rounds were either gone or they had slowed down significantly. Meanwhile, Campbell was moving around the ring. He was firing off his shots, his combinations. It was like, wow, Campbell might actually do it. 9 and 10, I guess most people would have saw it for Linares based on what the judges said and based on what I could see in the boxing community. But 9 and 10 were definitely very close round. The 11th, it was Campbell's turn to slow down, and Linares' shots were like getting blocked, at least partly blocked, but he was still landing the jab. Pretty much Linares had come back. Meanwhile, Campbell, I guess, got a little cocky, maybe thinking that he would have won it, that he had won. And then both men in the next round, like, Campbell was taunting, so, I guess Campbell thought he had the bag. Although Linares, I thought I saw a taunt or two from Linares as well. Like, taunting in boxing is kind of risky. Because I've seen plenty of fights, the compilations are all on YouTube, where someone will taunt and they will end up paying the price and getting knocked out. So, I don't know how to feel about, boxers doing some taunting like that. It was a split decision. Campbell won one judge's scorecard, 115-113, but the other two judges gave it 114-113 Linares and 115-112 Linares. I think they got it right. Linares split decision, although credit to Campbell because he was definitely working hard. He definitely nearly made the comeback and definitely, gave Linares the fight of his life, potentially. And Campbell actually, this was recently discovered that apparently he lost his dad not too long before this fight, so he was trying to fight, while not showing weakness, while not being there with his family to grieve the loss. So I think a hell of a fight for Luke Campbell. He definitely showed a great showing, and he's earned my respect. But we also had another fight. I didn't get to see this fight, admittedly, but it was on YouTube, but it was pay-per-YouTube. Pay-per-view, well, when they put it on YouTube and it's a live stream, but you have to pay for it, I'm going to call it pay-per-YouTube. It was Joseph Parker defending the WBO Heavyweight Championship against Hughie Fury, the younger brother of disgraced former champion Tyson Fury. Joseph Parker, it was and from what I saw, like the little snippets of the fight and on YouTube and, like the highlight videos afterwards, and from what I saw with the boxing community on Twitter, this fight was not good. This was a bad fight. Parker tried to cut the ring off quickly. Fury was trying to hold Parker, close. Fury was using the jab over the next rounds, but Fury ended up getting cut in the 4th from a clash of heads. Parker closed the distance in the 5th, but Fury didn't seem to be hurt much. Split kind of 6th round. Fury still moving around. Parker works the body in the 7th. Parker starts putting the pressure on, though. 8th round. Fury worked the jab at the 9th while Parker was working on the inside. The fight seemed to be going in Fury's favor, but then Fury seemed to run around the ring for the last few rounds. And I guess that's what caused some of the boxing people to give it to Parker, because it's like, you are running around the ring. It's like, you don't deserve the win if you're just going to run around the ring and avoid the opponent. Although, go tell that to Floyd Mayweather and see what he tells you. But then, once again, the judges' scorecards are in the spotlight. One judge scores the bout a 114 draw. The other two favorite in Parker, 118-110. There it is, the fucking 118-110 again. I really don't understand. Like, from what I saw of the fight and what I saw of people's reactions, it seemed like the fight should have been closer in the scoring, but still in favor of Parker. Like, I think I would have had it, like I had Gennady Golovkin beating Canelo last week, where it was like 8 rounds to 4. So that would be like 116-112, I think. Yeah, 116-112 would have been probably my thing in favor of Parker. Meanwhile, Fury's camp is flipping because they think, Fury had done enough to win the fight, and Fury and his team are protesting the decision, and it's just madness. 118-110 rears its ugly head again, and you know what? But from also what I saw of the fight, it seems like whoever won this fight, so Parker, supposedly he might face Anthony Joshua next, Joshua has a bunch of the heavyweight title belts. I think he has all but the WBO title, heavyweight title, and maybe one of the other titles. Let me see. I know Joshua doesn't have the WBO. I know he has the WBC title he also doesn't have, because that's Deontay Wilder. But he has the IBF title and the WBA title and the IBO title, so I guess if Joshua is truly going to face Parker, I could see Parker getting destroyed. Sorry, I gotta say it. I think Joshua really proved himself against Klitschko back in April, and I think Joshua will be the new face of the heavyweight division. Although I would want to see Joshua versus Wilder. I think that would be a hell of a fight, and maybe that's the one that will give Joshua the bit of the challenge. So that's going to do it for this edition of Combat Mania. Go like Combat Mania on Facebook, Twitter, and Periscope at Combat Mania UD. Go follow and like my other show that I do with the Undetermined Podcast Network with Nick Federa. That would be the Unspoken Podcast at the UDUP on Facebook, Twitter, and Periscope. Go follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Thomas J. Albano. Go follow the Undetermineds, the overall accounts for the podcast network on Facebook at the UD Network and on Twitter at MMBuzz. Give this Combat Mania channel, along with all the other Undetermined Podcast Network accounts, like and a subscription here on iTunes, a good rating and a subscription here on iTunes, and like and a subscription on YouTube. And go support all the Undetermined Podcast Network accounts. And that's going to do it here for this edition of Combat Mania. I'm Tom Albano, and we'll see you next week for episode 4. You've been listening to Combat Mania, a Sheep Seed Sports production part of the Undetermined Podcast Network. See you, everybody.